guys, I'm back and I have a really simple fake blackberry tutorial for you today that you can use in your summer fake bakes. I thought doing some kind of fruit would be fun to get ready for summer. I'm going to show you two different ways that you can make these. So the first way is the little bit easier way, but you may not have all of the supplies on hand. So this is just a piece of green floral foam that I got at Dollar Tree. So what I'm going to do is take a knife and just cut a little slice off of it, not too thick. And then I'm just going to cut this so that it's a little rectangle piece. And then I'm going to cut this into 4 pieces. I just want to cut off these square parts a little bit, so just kind of like make it so it's a little more like a round shape. And that's why I'm using this green foam instead of the white foam, because it's just a little bit easier to work with that way. And then we'll take a toothpick and just stick that right in the end of this. Now, the next thing you'll need are some of these foam beads, and these are just from Dollar Tree as well. They don't have to be white. You can use any color because we're going to paint them anyway, so whatever color you happen to have will do just fine. And then we're going to need some hot glue. I'm going to go about halfway around with the hot glue. And then I'm just going to start placing these foam beads on. And you want to put them as close together as possible. And the reason I just went halfway around is just so my glue doesn't dry up on me before I get to the other side. And these don't have to be perfectly straight. They don't all have to be the same size. It's better if they're not because, you know, it'll look more realistic. So now we'll do a second row. When I start the second row, instead of going directly under one of the beads, I want to kind of go in that little space in between the two. That way you have staggered rows. And try not to get too much glue on there. Like if you have a little bit sticking out, it's not going to make a huge difference, but you just don't want glue poking out everywhere. And then when you get to the end, we're just going to fill the end in just the same way we have been doing. And then on the top by your toothpick, struggle is real with these hot glue webs. So by your toothpick, we're just going to do another row there. Okay, so now once the glue has dried, you can kind of pick off any little pieces that are sticking out too much or whatever. And then what I like to do is just kind of press it in so it kind of crushes the beads a little bit, and it also will shape up the blackberry some. If you want to make it shorter or just compact it a little bit, just press it in. We need to mix up our color for this. Now, if I had Purple Pansy by Apple Barrel, I would probably use that color and black mixed together, but I don't know where mine is. We're still in the process of moving, so I have to use what I can locate in this box mess. So I have Concord grape and then black, and then I'm going to use a little bit of red to get a more realistic color. So I'll start with the Concord grape. Then I'm just going to put a little dot of black. We can always add more black, but we can't take it out, so less is better. And then I'm going to put a little bit of my red in, and then just mix that all up. Okay, so this does not have enough black. I need to add a little bit more. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to try it out and see. So we're just going to paint, and where your toothpick is, you don't need to worry about putting any of the styrofoam balls in there, because when we take that out, we're going to paint that so that it looks like where the stem has come off. So just paint your blackberries. Make sure you get in between those little cracks. And then we're going to let that dry. So I like to take the toothpick and just stick it in some styrofoam, and then that'll hold it so that nothing gets messed up while you're letting it dry. Then the other way that you can make it, if you don't happen to have floral foam and foam beads and you don't want to go get some, if you have foam clay on hand, we can do it with that too. Condition your piece of clay. And then I'm going to take a piece that is going to serve as the center. So like the piece of foam that we used before, we're just going to use a piece of clay for that. So just kind of roll it into a cylinder. You can make it a little bit wider at the top part. And then I'm going to roll some little balls out of the clay. So this is a bit more time consuming, but like I said, if you don't have those other supplies and you want to be able to make them, you have foam clay, this is a good option. And the balls don't have to be the same size. It's better if they're a little bit different. So, you know, just do it quickly. I would not recommend rolling the balls and letting them dry before you attach them unless you have foam glue, because the hot glue doesn't stick the foam clay together once it's dry. It won't stick permanently. So just keep that in mind. You want to assemble them while the clay is still wet. Okay, so I'm going to stick a toothpick in the top of this just like I did before, and then just kind of form it around it again. And then just start putting the little balls on. And then just put another row right at the top by the toothpick. And then again, you can just kind of press it in lightly just to get everything to stick together and to shape it up a little bit how you like it. And then you can let this dry before you paint it. It would be easier to paint probably if you do let it dry. I'm just going to go ahead and paint mine while it's wet. And then I'll just stick this one in to let it dry too. Once the paint is dry, you can take it off with a toothpick. And then I'm just going to use a little territorial beige. And I'm going to take some of that with a small paintbrush and just put it in this opening. That's going to be like where the stem comes out. Then we can put it back on the toothpick, and we're going to put some Mod Podge on. So I have my gloss Mod Podge here because we want these to look glossy so they look realistic. So I'm just going to put a coat of this on. If one coat isn't enough, you may need to do 2 coats, especially with those styrofoam balls. Those tend to soak up the Mod Podge, so you might have to do a couple of coats. And then just stick it back in your styrofoam, let it dry, and see how it looks. So like this one right here, I did one coat of Mod Podge, which I think it looks pretty good. This is one made with the styrofoam balls. So it's got a pretty good shine. Let me know what you think. Do you like how the ones with the styrofoam balls turned out better, or the ones with the foam clay? Thank you guys so much. I can't wait to see what you guys make with these fake blackberries, and I will see you soon.